Hi. So I just kind of want to be anonymous,
Yeah, please.
but I like a lot of your content, and I'm kind of. I guess I'll just jump into it. I'm a middle-aged man, and I'm in what will be my second marriage. I'm getting ready to be married here, hopefully pretty soon. We're making plans and so on. And I guess the thing about me is I've experienced a lot of trauma in my life,
Uh-huh.
in relationships and as a child. And even though there's not a lot of reason not to trust the person that I'm with, I'm always, feeling like I'm going to be cheated on.
Okay. And you're trying to
And,
figure out how to cope with that, or
yeah, and like I said, I'm with somebody who's very trusting. I don't know if there's strategies to sort of rewire
yeah.
the, things in your life that, it's overwhelming sometimes. And I'm an analytical thinker, so that I start to think, well, this situation doesn't add up. Why is that going on? And I'm always looking at every other man that is around as like that's somebody who's trying to, get with my partner, and it's just, I don't want to, I had that in my first marriage,
Yeah.
and I did that with the woman that I was with then, and I don't want to do that with this woman because I know that's something that will drive a woman insane, I'm in a
Sure.
really healthy, a good relationship with a good woman who wouldn't do that to me, but still, it's, I don't know how to describe it. And when I discuss it with her, I tell her, it's not that I don't trust you, it's just that I don't know how to fight these demons in a way,
Yeah.
that, like I said, I've had a very traumatic childhood and a very traumatic, just I saw it in my parents,
Yeah.
and then in my first marriage, there was a lot of
Let me ask
cheating
you.
going on.
Yeah, let me ask you this. What would happen if she did cheat on you? What would happen to you?
I would just feel like I would be destroyed, to be honest, But
What does that mean? What does that mean, be destroyed? What would happen, and you find out, are you going to jump off a building, God forbid?
No, I don't. I guess not. I have two children from a former marriage that are adult children, and
Yeah.
they, have responsibilities and everything else. Um, I
So
think that it would just it would stop my, I don't know. To be honest, I just don't know.
so that's why you're having a problem. And this is the way all fear works. There are really only two. I'm going to try and say this in a few minutes because it's a little bit of a complicated thing. I'm going to take it back to attachment style or attachment theory. I don't. Have you ever heard of that before? Attachment style, attachment theory.
No.
Okay.
Just by the name, I can imagine what that is. But
Sure. So I'll give you the kind of the 20-second version. So, the way you attach in relationships, either you have a very sense of secure attachment and there's a calmness there and there's a lot of trust. If you're not secure, and I'm giving you the Cliff Note version, right? You typically will go to anxious or avoidant. And the anxious one is worried that the connection in the relationship is stressed and in danger and threatened in some way. And so they would need to reach out and need constant reassurance. Or if they see external threats in the relationship, like another man, they need to insert themselves and talk to their partner about it. And the reason is you're worried about the relationship dissolving. Now, you have to keep in mind, as people, we really only have two motivations: survival and love. That's really it. Everything, fame, health, looks, everything, religion even, everything it boils down to a sense of survival and love. And when we're young, and the reason I'm going to take this back to being young is because you saw it in your own life as a child. When you're young, your survival and your love are completely connected. If your mother doesn't love you or your father doesn't love you, you realize that means no one's going to take care of you and you will literally die, right? That's why kids have separation anxiety. Even before they understand the concept of death, a toddler, if the mother walks too far away, has a sense that they won't survive. And that survival is dependent on their love. Now, as an adult, you're supposed to divorce those two ideas. You're supposed to realize that love is there to make life better and meaningful, and survival you can take on your own. And when you're able to divorce those two, something very liberating happens. You realize, I'm going to be okay no matter what. And that's the problem. That's the problem of what's happening with you, is you have a part of you that's still that child saying, oh no, if mom and dad separate, how am I going to survive? And there's been some wiring in your brain that says love equals survival, right? And so when I asked you the question, what would happen if she cheated on you, you even said it, I would be destroyed. And I had to reframe it for you to say, well, would you really be destroyed? And you said, no, I have 2 kids. So the big overarching theme for you is to realize you're going to be okay. Even if someone cheats on you, you're going to be just fine. It will be painful. It will be hard, but you'll live to fight another day. I'll make this very personal for a second. So by the way, men, about 30% of men have anxious, the other 70% have avoidant, which is a totally different thing, where they get quiet and they don't talk about things and they just kind of stew and they'd rather be alone. 30% of men like you and like me, if they're in an insecure moment in their relationship, get anxious, right? And here's the thing, it's a flipped situation. So most women don't know how to handle it because it's unusual. And so my wife, I got very dramatic at one point, and I said, well, if you'll leave me, I'll die, right? This is 13 years ago. And I was hoping, as an anxious person, to have a connection where she said, no, don't worry, I'll never leave you. I was hoping for her to help soothe me. But my wife, who's a psychologist and, is dealing with her own issues, right, and brilliant, she said, instead of soothing me and telling me I'd be, everything's going to be okay, she looked at me and she said, oh, you'll be fine.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I walked into the other room and I felt alone and abandoned. But you know what? That day is when my anxious attachment style and the plague that was living with me really kind of, because I was forced to be alone and contemplate it, I realized something. She's right. At the time we had a child together, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be a father to my child. I looked at our finances and said, yes, it would suck and it would be a burden, but at the end of the day, I'll be okay and she'll be okay. And we'll figure out how to pick up the pieces. And until you get to the point, sir, where you understand that you will be okay, that fear will plague you because you're afraid of not knowing what will happen to you. And I'm going to tell you what's going to happen to you. You'll be sad for a while and then you'll be fine. That's the truth. Now, if you need more help with it, there's books you can read on attachment theory. You can always, write to me and see if you want to have a consultation or work with a therapist. But that's what's happening, is you're having an anxious attachment style that's kind of really it's giving you a hard time in your adult life. All right?
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Thank you. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Congratulations on the engagement. I hope that things go well for you.